right, you ready to start the recording, Angelique?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to February's Roundtable. My name is Esmeralda Bonk, and I am the Roundtable Commissioner for Wapelin-Nassau, and my partner is...
Hi, I'm Angelique Minette, and I am the Roundtable Commissioner for Ishkote District.
So we have a lot scheduled for us to present for you today, and I hope it'll be a useful one, as well as an informative as well. So let us begin with our opening prayer. Or sorry, opening overall. Sorry.
Those in uniform, please salute. Those who are not, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
Next on the dock, we have Buck Olson, who will be leading us in prayer.
Please prepare yourself for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, help to keep my honor bright and teach me that integrity of character is my most priceless possession. Grant that I may do my best today and strive to do even better tomorrow. Teach me that duty is a friend, not an enemy, and help me face even the most disagreeable tasks cheerfully. Give me the faith to understand my purpose in life, open my mind to the truth, and fill my heart with love. I am thankful for all the blessings you have bestowed upon my country. Help me to do my duty to my country, to know that a good nation must be made from good men. Help me to remember my obligation to obey the Scout law and to give my understanding so that it is more than mere words. May I never tire of the joy of helping other people or look the other way when someone is in need. You have given me the gift of a body. Make me wise enough to keep it health, that I might serve better. You are the source of all wisdom. Help me to have an alert mind. Teach me to think and help me to learn discipline. In all that I do and every challenge I face, help me to know the difference between right and wrong and lead me in obedience on a straight path to a worthy goal.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. All right, now we're going to jump into the info minute. Give me a moment and I am going to share the screen because we are trying something new for the info minute today. Try not to break it. Oh, it worked. All right, you guys ready? We are here for the info minute. First, an update to the restrictions for COVID. Just a reminder that we are, as of February 1st, we're allowed groups of up to 50 people, indoors or outdoors. We have to follow the guidelines that if we have above 25, so if we have 50 people, we need to split into smaller groups of 25 or less that do not intermingle or intermix or commingle. Overnight camping, outdoors only is allowed, so that means no cabin camping right now. You need to make sure your chartered organization is on board with a larger meeting size and your unit camping. If they're not, you can't do it. There's no exception to this. Some organizations are still requiring virtual meetings only. In order to meet in person, again, you need your written permission from your charter organization rep, and it needs to be sent to Diane Klopfer, your scouting executive, and your district commissioner. You have to keep those temperature logs and attendance logs, and if you're camping, you need to take temperature and log them in the morning and at night. Medical form A and B must be current and available at all times for all activities. You need to wear a mask at all times and adhere to social distancing guidelines, which includes washing your hands and making hand sanitizer available and staying 6 feet apart. Have a plan for cleaning your meeting space before and after every meeting. For camping, still no communal cooking, shared food, or utensils. Eaters need to be 6 feet apart and no shared tents. Tents also need to be 6 feet apart. Keep in mind, if the positivity rate goes up, we could be back to a different mitigation level with little to no notice. All changes are shared as soon as possible on the council's page and the roundtable page first. The website takes a little bit longer to update, so check Facebook first. We will post it as soon as it's available. So we've been getting a lot of message every time the mitigation level changes, and I and everybody else get lots and lots of messages. We will post it as soon as it's available, I promise. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us after we're done here. Chugging along, spring membership. There will be a spring membership conference for Rainbow Council held on March 10th at 7 p.m. over Zoom. It's going to be an open forum for unit membership chairs to share ideas and let us know how council can help you and discuss plans for some virtual spring recruitment events. So if you're having trouble recruiting, this is the thing that you should go to. A virtual disabilities awareness event will be coming up on March 6th. Scouts of all ages, cub on up through adult leader and parents can participate. Scouts BSA will have the opportunity to earn the Disabilities Awareness Merit Badge. Adults will learn more about the scouting program in relation to disabilities. Please register on council's calendar. Adult training. We've got lots of news in adult training. Good news, adult training dates have been released. Scoutmaster position specific indoors is March 6th, June 12th, September 18th, or December 11th. Introduction to outdoor leadership skills, that's what you need to be a Scoutmaster or a Scoutmaster's assistant, but it's good for any adult leader, is set up to run April 17th through 18th or October 16th through 17th. Basic Adult Leader Outdoor Orientation, aka BALOO, is for Cub Scout leaders who want to be able to take their units camping, is April 17th through 18th or October 16th through 17th. And finally, this is what we've been hearing a lot for, Wilderness First Aid is going to be held April 30th through May 2nd and September 24th through 26th. So it is going to be held, so get yourself ready for that if you need it for your summer adventures. Trainer's Edge is still to be determined, and register through all events through council's calendar. Wood Badge. Wood Badge is a 5-day course taken over 2 weekends for any pack, troop, crew, ship, or board leader 18 years or older, fully trained in their position and looking to increase their leadership skills. Scouters interested in taking Wood Badge are committed to the program and want to do good things and make a positive impact. Wood Badge will be held October 9th through 11th and October 23rd through 24th, and registration is open online. Other than your own, whose life will you change through the better through Wood Badge? Wanted program director. Rainbow Council is looking to hire a summer camp program director. The position is for adults 21 plus and requires camp school training. Call the council office for more information. Save the date. There is an Eagle Scout recognition event going to be held on June 5th at RSR. Details to be coming. Speaking of Eagle Scouts, the following Scouts have passed their Eagle Boards of Review this January. Matt P. from Troop 83, Daniel S. from Troop 131, Jacob K. from Troop 50, Patrick G. from Troop 12, Stephen D. from Troop 466, Ryan Z. from Troop 23. Congrats, Scouts. We'll be announcing all the Eagles that passed their board of review as each month goes by. The 2021 annual meeting and State of Scouting address to the community will be held virtually on February 25th at 7 p.m. Please register online. Good information is to be had there. Scouts BSA Troop 49 is hosting their aquatics program for the swimming and life-saving merit badges beginning March 6th at the Gallowitch YMCA in Joliet. The flyer is available on the Roundtable Facebook group, and spots are very limited due to COVID. Please contact Buck Olson to register, and he is here in this meeting, so you can talk to him afterwards if you need to. Programming. In programming, Cub Scout Nova Wild will be offered at Willow Haven Nature Center in Kankakee on April 10th. The Webelos Walkabout hiking event will happen at RSR on April 24th. The Fish On Rainbow Council Fishing Derby will be held at the Will County Fishermen's Club on May 8th. The Cub Scout Beltapalooza has been canceled, and the council-wide Pinewood Derby has been postponed because we'd like to run it with as many kids as possible. So we're hoping to run it when we're able to have more kids involved, more than 50. All events can be registered for online. All right, volunteers. The Council Programming Committee has asked me to talk to you. The program committee is looking for volunteers. All events here at Rainbow Council are run by a dedicated team of volunteers. In case you are unfamiliar with that, it is all volunteers. And we need your help to make programs happen. Now's the time to get involved. Volunteers are needed in all areas, but in particular, the programming committee is looking for a Waupee-Lenassawah district chair, a Cub Scouts event chair, a Cub Scout Beltapalooza event chair, a Pinewood Derby event chair, a Fossil Hunt chair, and an October Cub Scout Build It or Nova event chair. The programming won't run without your help. If you'd like to get involved and chair one of these events, or have questions and need more information, or have a great idea for another event that you'd like to help run, please contact Rachel Wolverton at rkglavac@gmail.com, and we'll pop that in the comments later. Do you have something you would like to add to Info Minute? Please contact Esmeralda or I to add it to the Info Minute for next month. All right. And with that, we're on to Ez with the Scout Law Point.
And we have this month's law point is a scout is kind. A scout is kind. A scout knows there is strength in being gentle. He treats others as he wants to be treated. Without good reason, he does not harm or kill any living thing. Kindness is a sign of true strength. To be kind, you must look beyond yourself and try to understand the needs of others. Take time to listen to people and imagine being in their place. It should never be difficult to show kindness to those in need and those who cannot defend themselves. What can be harder is being kind to people you don't know or with whom you disagree. We live in a world that has more than its share of anger, fear, and war. Extending kindness to those around you and having compassion for all people is a powerful antidote to the poisons of hatred and violence. Kindness is not limited to how we feel about people. Be kind to pets and wildlife. Be kind to Earth by protecting natural resources and by using the leave no trace methods of hiking and camping.
Okay, for the Adult Award, we are today talking about the Adult Religious Award emblem. This is a square knot worn by those who have received a religious award as an adult member of the BSA. The awards are not BSA awards and are presented by religious organizations for long tenure of service to Scouting, the religion, and the community. With one exception, of all of these awards require a nomination, and self-nomination is not allowed. Only one adult religious award square knot is worn, regardless of how many awards have been received. It is possible, for example, to receive 2 or 3 levels of awards in some faiths, or to receive awards from more than one faith. So I encourage you to check if your unit has a religious affiliation about awarding your adult leaders, because they deserve recognition too.
Next up is our Cub Scout Award. This month, your Cub Scout Outdoor Activity Award. This is an award that can be earned each year of each of the program years. So the first time you earn it, you can earn it anytime. You can earn it as early as, I believe, Wolf. I don't think the tiger one or the little lions get it. Let me double check that. Nope, starts at tiger, sorry. The first time you earn it, you can earn it anytime. When you earn the first one, you get a pocket flap, which is worn on the right pocket flap of the uniform. And then each year after that you earn the Outdoor Activity Award, you get a wolf tag, which can be pinned and added to the flap. Leaders, please encourage your scouts to build on skills and experiences from the previous years. There are multiple activities that you need to accomplish, which can be found at the my.scouting.org, and it also will be located on the Roundtable Facebook page. But the one thing that all ranks must have is they need to attend either a day camp or a Cub Scout, We Below Scouts resident camp. So for those who haven't decided whether you're going to resident camp or day camp, please keep that in mind and help your scouts earn this award.
All right, for the Scouts BSA Award, we're going to talk today about the BSA Complete Angler Recognition. For this award, a Scout must earn 3 fishing-related merit badges: fishing, fly fishing, and fish and wildlife management. They must successfully complete one or more of the following projects, such as teaching a fishing or fly fishing merit badge skill to their troop or crew, help instruct Cub Scouting on fishing skills or fishing management as part of a meeting, participating in a local fishing derby or tournament, either a scouting or community event. Oh, I think I remember from the Info Minute, there is a fishing tournament coming up, and to complete a conservation project that will benefit a local fishery. When these things are completed, there is a file down at the bottom here that you can click on, and we'll make this available to submit the paperwork to the council office to get that cool patch.
And for our safety minute, which will be related a lot to our guest today, is youth suicide prevention or youth mental health. Youth suicide behavior is a problem that you may encounter in scouting or with friends of scouting youth, but it is often preventable. In order to save the life of a youth at risk, it is important to have a plan in place beforehand, know local professional resources, understand the severity of the problem, look for the signs in the youth you lead, understand major risk factors, and know how you can help. Youth with risk factors are more likely to engage in suicidal behaviors, while youth with protective factors in their families and communities are less likely. While the risk factors don't directly cause the behavior, research with youth who have attempted suicide often show that those factors were present, and those are included on the left side of the screen. Protective factors include family and school connectedness, affiliation with religious organizations, safe schools, academic achievements, positive self-esteem, and active involvement in groups that promote a sense of achievement, such as the Boy Scouts of America. If you suspect that someone might be suicidal, please have a plan in place. Follow it. Take every threat seriously. Don't be afraid to ask whether the person has considered suicide. Listen and accept the person at face value. Please do not give false reassurance. Notify the person's parents or guardian and seek professional help immediately. And do not forget to call the Boy Scout hotline as well. Report any abuse to the appropriate authorities. And again, don't forget to call the Boy Scout hotline. One easy way to engage a youth is to simply ask if something is sad, bad, or scary in their lives. Please make sure that you have the information from the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, American Association of Suicidology, as well as the BSA Scout Hotline.
Okay, so today's topics are kind of tough, but they're important. They're very, very important. I know that I have had situations in my units where I wasn't quite sure how to handle things. And I suspect some of you have also had situations like that. So before we have our special guest today, I do need to take a minute to show you guys a resource that you have at your disposal. If we are on Rainbow Council's page, you've probably seen this report child abuse and neglect. I don't know if you've looked at it, but you should. You should spend some quality time looking at this tab and become familiar with it, because there's a whole wealth of resources here. You should know that as a Scout leader, you're mandatory reporting, you're required to report child abuse or suspected child abuse. And one of the things that you have to do is you have this number here, 844 Scouts First. This is a hotline, 24-hour, all day long, all night long with BSA to report any known or suspected abuse or significant violations of youth protection policies that might put youth at risk. So perhaps you are aware of a Scout who is going one-on-one with an adult leader and it just doesn't feel right. So this is the number that you call to get some help on how to deal with that. But first things first, you need to assure that the kid is in a safe environment. You need to call 911 or police intervention in an emergency. And you are required to do that first and then call this hotline. If you're not sure, you can call the hotline too. There are all kinds of good information here. You should spend some time looking at it. You are also asked to so ensure the child is in a safe environment. Call 911 if it's an emergency. If you suspect abuses in the Scout's home or family, you're required to contact the local child abuse hotline. And then you need, after you've done those things, you need to notify the Scout executive or their designee. So if you look down here on the page, Ted Carnes, his number is right here. Give him a call. And if you can't get a hold of him, call Diane. And you need to let them know right away about what's going on. If you're not sure, you can always call them too and talk to them and ask for, you know, a little help or guidance with it. And then if you keep scrolling down, there's even more information down here. There's about the different types of training and the different types of protection. We've all had to do the youth protection training and it's extensive. But, you know, it doesn't hurt to go back and refresh yourself once in a while about how you need to handle things. Let's see. We also have, there's fantastic links here to what defines abuse. What, you know, how do I know what that is? How if I think it's wrong, how do I know what that is? You can go, there are links here that you can click to take you to Illinois statutes to let you know exactly what those are. And then there's all kinds of good stuff here that you can share with your families, bullying awareness, cyber chip, youth protection stuff that can be a good resource for you as well. There's even youth on youth training materials because unfortunately that's becoming a lot more common with youth on youth. That's why we have in the Scouts BSA level, they're only supposed to attend together within 2 years of age, and that's because of youth on youth abuse. So there's some materials here on how to handle that. And then if you have adults in your units who don't speak English, we have a whole section here of the same things repeated in Spanish because it's very important. So spend some time looking at that information. It is going to have everything you need to get started if you have a problem or just so you know how to handle it if it crops up without expecting it or without knowing about it. All right, so we all have had to probably deal with maybe some questionable behavior, or we're not sure how to handle a kid who's having a really rough time and is behaving in ways that you know aren't right, but we haven't really had the training to handle that. And there is a program called Youth Mental Health First Aid. And Teena, we're going to be calling you here to the screen here in a minute. Youth Mental Health First Aid is a fantastic training course. My husband took it and he said it was phenomenal, and he said every scout leader should really consider taking it. It is an outside program that is not run through the BSA. It's open for anybody. And we have Teena Mackey here. She is from the national or NAMI, and I'm going to let her introduce herself because I'm doing a terrible job with it. But she's here to talk to us about youth mental health and all the things that we can do to really be prepared, because we're scouts. We can be prepared to handle and serve our kids better. So Teena, you have the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angelique. Yeah, so my name is Teena Mackey. I have a terrible cold, so I know you'll excuse that. I represent an organization called NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. I'm president of the local affiliate, NAMI Will-Grundy, which includes the Morris area. And so we teach a class called Mental Health First Aid. The original program, Mental Health First Aid, it's been in America for several years now, probably almost 10 years. It originated in Australia. And mental health first aid, not unlike, when you hear first aid, you think of, regular first aid class, and that is usually offering assistance when a person is in crisis with a medical crisis or some sort of injury. Similarly, mental health first aid is when a person is developing a mental illness, recognizing signs and symptoms of emerging mental health, or experiencing a mental health crisis. So to be with that person and stay with that person until you can get emergency help is probably the primary goal for mental health first aid. But not unlike the information that you folks shared a little bit earlier, we want to learn to recognize emerging signs and symptoms, identify risk and protective factors. Excellent information, Angelique. Really important when we're evaluating when people are struggling. Learning to assess the risk of suicide or harm, a super difficult topic. Often we are, we provide mental health first aid training often to clinicians in the field of mental illness or counseling, and we're finding that most folks use mental health first aid not as a clinician or in a professional manner, but as a neighbor or a family member or church peer, or like you folks, scout leaders, people that are interacting with others in the community all the time. So identifying how to risk for that suicide risk, and then learning how to assist a person in crisis until a professional person arrives. Now youth mental health first aid, similar to mental health first aid, offers a lot of education about mental illness and the brain as brain chemistry, mental illness as a brain disease, but also it narrows the focus to challenges that are specific to the adolescent age group. So again, we talk about risk factors and protective factors, very, very important elements to identify when we're evaluating if a person is struggling. So risk factors and protective factors specific to adolescents and young adults. So one element of youth mental health first aid that I really appreciate, and I think folks that have taken the class really like the segment where identifying or trying to identify the difference between typical adolescent behavior, and I use the word typical loosely because adolescents can be very unique. Often they are finding their own way and again can be very unique in their behaviors. what one might identify as typical adolescent behavior versus adolescent behavior that would make us believe that there is perhaps an issue or risk factors or emerging signs and symptoms of mental illness. So, and I'll give you an example that we talk about in the program. So, for example, typical adolescent behavior, and I'm going to refer to my notes. For example, a young person that's withdrawing from family and family members to spend more time with friends. So, you know, family maybe was at the core or central to their social life, and now they're shifting to social events and activities with their friends. You know, typical adolescent behavior. A potential warning sign might be that a youngster is shifting from activities with family, friends, and others to isolation, maybe not participating in activities or social events, but perhaps just staying at home by themselves and isolating in their room. Typical adolescent behavior, a desire for more privacy, very, very common. A potential warning sign might be that when that desire for privacy becomes really secretive or obsessive, and you know, just doesn't quite seem like it's typical of a youngster's behavior, that, you know, that might send us up a signal. Typical behavior moving from childhood likes to teen pursuits. So, you know, children are growing up and they're becoming adolescents. They'd like to do things with their friends, teenage activities. And then potential warning signs would be maybe losing interest in all those activities altogether. So good example, you know, a young person who is real active in the Boy Scouts, maybe is eager to earn some of those badges that I heard you folks talking about, you know, really active, and then all of a sudden maybe loses interest in that kind of activity completely. Doesn't really want to engage, and you struggle to sort of keep them active and interested in the program. So once we identify that perhaps there's an issue or risk factors, or even, again, just this gut feeling that, hey, you know, seems like something's going on with this youngster, your child's friend, your neighbor, a youngster in your troop, a youngster in the community that you're close to, that you know from church. So what do we do? Now we become educated on recognizing these signs and symptoms. So what do we do? So Youth Mental Health First Aid then provides training to get involved in the situation. And so how do we do that? What I like about Youth Mental Health First Aid a little bit more than the original Mental Health First Aid program is that Youth Mental Health First Aid is very interactive. So we learn to listen non-judgmentally. We role play listening. We actually have scenarios where a person reacts. You're maybe given a scenario, and then how do you react to that? Because it's so different when we're talking about, oh, we want to make sure we're supportive. We want to make sure we listen non-judgmentally. We don't want to bring our own stuff to the conversation. We want to make sure that the youngster understands we're here for that person. It's about the young person. It's not about us. And then and I've seen this happen a lot of times, and I'm guilty of it too. But then you read the scenario, and then when you say, okay, now what are you going to say to this child? It's not uncommon for folks, and again, myself included, to say, well, I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly what to say. So that training about what's helpful things to say, how do we listen non-judgmentally? How do we not bring our own attitudes and opinions and beliefs to the conversation? it's so, when we're talking amongst ourselves and we say, it's not really helpful to say, well, gee, when I was your age, I would do this, and that always worked for me. That seems so logical. We're saying, that's not really helpful, but so many times even though we know it's not helpful, we hear those words coming out of our mouth. You got your whole life ahead of you. Here's what I did when I was a youngster. My grandfather behaved that way, and here's what we did. Those are just not helpful interventions. They're not effective. They're not listening non-judgmentally. And so again, the thing I like about youth mental health first aid is we actually walk through, here's the scenario. Here in the morning, we say, here's the scenario. Let's meet this youngster. And then as the day progresses, the scenarios become a little more challenging. We're clearly identifying that this youngster is struggling. And then ultimately this person is in crisis, and we're role playing. We're in a position where we're actually learning what do we say and how do we say it well, and how can we be effective and supportive. So again, another example, when we then get to the point where we're offering information, we're offering support and assistance. And again, another example that sort of illustrates a little bit of what youth mental health first aid will share. So reassuring information, if a youngster's talking to us about a problem, for example, a person might say, breakups can be tough. It's natural for you to be hurt and upset. Very helpful, reassuring, not judgmental. Now, advice, maybe not so helpful, not so judgmental, might be a person saying, well, here's what happened in my first breakup. Here's what you need to know. Here's what you need to do. Not so helpful. Sort of focusing the interaction on you. And this is what happened to me, and here's what I did. Just not helpful, not really what the youngster wants to hear. Another example, I'm here for you if you want to talk. There are people to train to help you work through these feelings. Very not judgmental. Make it an open invitation to a young person. If you'd like to talk, I'm here. I want to listen. On the other hand, giving advice is, you really need to talk to a counselor about that. It sort of defines that the person has a problem. It's a little bit judgmental, just a little bit of an attitude there that, hey, you got a problem, you need to go get a counselor help. So again, a little sort of those nuances. And then finally, reassuring information. You're not alone. I'm here. I'd like to listen. You are not alone. Very reassuring when a person hears that. Versus, you'll get over it. Don't worry about it too much. And again, it sounds like, well, yeah, of course, no one would say that, and yet we do all the time. Because suddenly we're in a position where a young person is struggling, and quite frankly, we often don't know what to say. So again, that's what I like so much about youth mental health first aid. There's some really practical role modeling and really good information about how to be supportive, how to recognize when there's challenges or people are struggling versus, excuse me, versus giving advice and information that's just not that helpful. And then finally, a major segment of youth mental health first aid is what you've Esmeralda read earlier, or assessing for risk of suicide or harm. Sometimes it can be very difficult to say to another person, are you having thoughts of killing yourself? Are you feeling like you are suicidal? Are you feeling like you want to harm yourself? Very difficult question to answer or to ask. Very difficult. We don't typically ask that question in the course of our day and week. And quite frankly, sometimes we're afraid to ask that question because we just don't want to know the answer. You know, it can be very frightening when a person says, yes, I feel like I want to kill myself. I have this bottle of pills. I think I might swallow it. I have a gun or a knife. I just am not able to face the next day. I'm not able to do it. And I am feeling like I'm going to harm myself. And so then what do we do with that information? You know, you've been a trusted adult. You've made clear that you want to be helpful. You've listened non-judgmentally. You've done all the right things. Your role as a mental health first aider is perfect. And so this person has come to you for assistance. So now what do we do? What do I do? This person is suicidal. So again, youth mental health first aid provides very practical role-playing, very practical examples, and gives people an opportunity to answer those questions, take action, identify what I'm going to do next, to the extent that when you're in that situation, you don't hesitate to ask, are you thinking of hurting yourself? Because you know what to do. If the answer is yes, you know how to respond. You know how to respond. You know how to help that person. And so it can be very scary, but it's not quite as frightening as it would be without training, without the preparation. So again, that's what I like most about youth mental health first aid. It takes the really educational elements of mental health first aid and really works hard to help you role play and work through those situations. So you have a little more confidence. You're feeling a little bit more confident, a little more comfortable about being able to be that go-to person when somebody is really struggling or in crisis. Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about the course itself? Like how many hours of it is it?
Sure. Housekeeping. So the class is 8 hours. Youth mental health first aid, all the mental health first aid classes offer CEUs. I don't know if you folks require CEUs as scout leaders, probably not. Some of you may in your work lives have a CEU requirement. I actually work in the field of community mental health. So for example, I have to have so many CEUs a year. So Youth Mental Health First Aid offers 8.0 CEUs, which is a pretty big chunk when you have to have about 12 a year. 8 is a pretty good. And so it's an 8-hour class. There's a fee, although I must confess, we've been doing mental health first aid on Zoom this past 6 to 8 months, obviously. So I don't have any idea what the fees are. Usually the fees are $25 to $40, depending on who's offering the program. NAMI Will-Grundy offers the program at $40 per person when we do it in person, and there's a book and a manual and all the materials that you need, and of course the CEUs. If you don't need those, then that wouldn't matter to you. But it's again, it's an 8-hour course. It's really good information. We usually schedule them. Usually there's a lot of participation in the program, so it's usually 8 to 10 weeks out once a person inquires about scheduling the program. Usually it takes about that long to get it on the calendar.
And I'm gonna say, if anybody's interested in that, go ahead and drop in the comments that you're interested, and we'll look about getting one offered in the near future for our adult leaders here at Rainbow Council. But did anybody have any questions?
Actually, I do.
Go for it.
I have a friend that has reached out to me and has asked me for advice, which unfortunately I couldn't give, but because I don't know where to go with it. But she said that her son kind of suffers from a low self-esteem, and she doesn't know how to handle that in some respects. She's like, do you think there's books out there, videos? What can I do to help my son?
Well, you know, usually the first folks that parents talk to are the school. You know, the schools can be very helpful, but there's no question that the stigma of mental illness is still very pervasive in our society, and sometimes parents don't want to talk to the school or don't want to talk to some, you know, and organize. They don't want the stigma associated with their child.
Bring the attention to them. Yes.
Yeah. You know, and the other, you know, one thing you have to evaluate though is if your youngster finds themselves in a crisis situation, you know, you really want the educators that help them, or the where he's at school, you really want them to have some knowledge about what's going on with that person and that youngster, so that they can be really, as you know, as helpful as he needs them to be. But you know, church, you know, sometimes people turn to priests or their spiritual advisors. The health departments, Grundy County Health Department, for example, has a excellent program for people who live in the community. You know, reaching out for professional help, I think, is probably what she definitely needs to do.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know if you felt like just a low self-esteem was serious enough to seek out help, you know. I thought maybe I could advise books to her, or maybe there's some YouTube person that the boy could follow, or, you know.
Sure, there's yeah, if you just, you know, Google low self-esteem, there'll be an endless supply of materials and resources. Low self-esteem and humiliation are two of the absolute core elements of risk factors to mental illness. It's not something to be taken lightly, you know, especially now as young people, with the increase of risk of suicide that we're facing. You know, as soon as you identify that in a youngster, seeking professional help is absolutely, would always be my advice.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
How old is he? Do you know?
15.
Oh, golly. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Yeah. They, I would, without question, seek low self-esteem. There's so many challenges. And again, you know, Youth Mental Health First Aid identifies lots of risk factors and a lot of issues that are happening with young people, but low self-esteem and all of the angst that comes with that at that age in high school, I would not take that lightly at all. I would definitely reach out to the school and maybe, you know, maybe just his counselor. I'm certain that person can be discreet and be helpful without, you know, raising red flags. But at that age, I would say without question to seek some professional help.
Would you say that COVID, I'm sure COVID has some kind of bearing on some of this as well, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that's actually one of the other questions in the comments is, what are we seeing becoming more common right now because of pandemic?
Well, just isolation in general is becoming more and more difficult for people to bear, and particularly youngsters. You know, especially with the school from home. You know, kids are really missing their friends. They're missing out on social, just all the growth processes that occur. I mean, you folks know better than most the value of those social interactions, the value of camaraderie and fraternal structure, and you know, being able to learn about yourself and build self-esteem. You know, you folks have more experience than most adults, and see those efforts in action when you meet with your youngsters and work through activities and events with your troops. So in the absence of that, you know, there's almost like a halt to socialization and the growth in children, and certainly the isolation from others is what's really impacting all age groups, but particularly young people. They're lonely, they're just lonely and really struggling as a result.
Thank you, Teena. Does anybody else have any questions for her? Okay, if you think of anything at any point, you can feel free to contact us, and I will put out Teena's contact information as well, and NAMI's contact information as well, as a resource that you can all use. Like I said, if you're interested in perhaps taking this Youth Mental Health First Aid, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we'll keep you on a list as we get something arranged. Other than that, we would like to thank you very much for coming and being our guest today. This is really important.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was really interesting to hear your information too. What a really comprehensive opportunity for young people to select from such a wide variety of activities, and it sounds like so much fun.
It is a lot of fun, and we're all excited to get back to it here too soon. So we've all been doing all the Zoom stuff, and we're all kind of done with it as well.
Yeah. Well, it's not so bad now when it's so cold, but when the weather starts to get better, people are just going to be so excited to get back outside.
We just
And
want to go
we'll be
camping.
happy to send you an application. So
You can come have fun with us too.
There's a couple
It's an adult
badges I'm interested in.
It's an adult application. We can find it online.
There you go.
It's only an hour.
You know, if you think
It's only an hour a week, right, Bob?
That's right.
Thank you, Teena, very much.
Okay.
So we're gonna go ahead and finish up, but if anybody has any questions in general about anything else we talked to today, you're welcome to stay on. Or if it's something we didn't cover today that someone has a question about, then you can go ahead. Here, I'm gonna remove spotlight here. Then you can go ahead and stay on, and we'll give you a hand with whatever you need afterwards. Otherwise, thank you very much, and hope y'all have a good rest of your week.